And then we're here, and we've got a timeshare on the hill at Snowbird, and we're here.
Starts the meeting and then I read, or do I read and then he starts the meeting?
You can greet people and then you can read.
And then he takes attendance after?
Yeah, roll call attendance, whatever you call it.
After I read?
Yes.
I gotta remember this.
Disclaimer, yes.
Okay, so you start it, I'll read the directions, and then you take roll call.
So am I unmuted in that, this
We're gonna
time?
unmute.
I just thought I'd sit here and make everybody jealous. I just want you to know how dedicated I am to the airport board. We had to come off the ski slopes early just so I could come to this Zoom meeting today.
Ron, I think the ones dedicated are the ones sitting here at City Hall. Just say it.
Well, I'm just saying, what can I say? A toast to you guys at City Hall. How's that?
Yeah. All right. Are you,
All right, I think we're ready. Are you ready, Kurt?
Yes.
okay. This is Richard Haig, Chairman of the Airport Advisory Board. We're calling the meeting to order. So we'll have a roll call of the members that we'll have, so, that are present at this time. So we'll start with myself, Richard Haig, I am here.
Vice Chairman Mike Kelly. Vice Chairman Mike Kelly.
Don Kenny, I'm here.
You're muted, Clancy.
We can't hear you, Clancy.
Is
There you
Clancy
go.
Maloney, I'm here.
Okay,
Okay, got it.
got it.
I hope so.
Chris?
Chris, wanna?
Chris, can you hear us? Chris Coleman?
Hey, Chris, can you hear us? Guessing he's having technical difficulties.
Okay.
Got him. Well, we see Chris.
We can see Chris, but Chris can't hear us or see us, so. The fact that we see him, does that mean he's officially attending?
Maybe call him on the phone, Amanda,
She's-
and see if he can.
I'm messaging him.
She's sending him a message real quick. Amanda is.
I don't think I have his number handy.
Could always hold up a sign.
All right,
I can call him.
you have it handy?
Probably just doesn't have his volume turned on.
He's wondering what we're all talking about, I'm certain. Probably being a good board member and doesn't have his phone handy. Oh, there he, maybe. I don't have audio.
Okay.
Uh-oh, hand signals.
He doesn't have audio, he says. I'm guessing.
Maybe suggest he logs on and tries back on again.
That's what I'm gonna
Sometimes
try.
that helps.
Thing keeps popping up in front of my screen. Trying to get him to log off here. Well, we have a quorum, I think, without him, so we can probably start. He can't hear us. We could probably start, and then Monty's coming on. Let's get him in here real quick, and then we'll get Chris back on here, and hopefully he'll be able to hear us. And there is Monty.
Monty, can you hear us?
I can. Sorry I'm late.
Oh, it's okay, we're still introducing, so if you want to just say your name and that you're present.
Yeah, Monty, Soka, present.
Awesome. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna let Chris back in here, see if his audio is working real quick, just while we kind of have a little, before we start, try to get
Yeah.
him going. All right. Well, I'll go through the kind of introduction, or I guess the instructions here for the Zoom meeting while we try to get Chris up and running again. Want to provide a few reminders to ensure that provisions of the Kansas Open Meetings Act are met. Board members, you must state your name each time you speak. All motions will need to be stated clearly. And after a motion is made and seconded, Richard will call on board members individually to provide their vote. Richard, you will need to announce whether the motion carried and the count of the vote. Various members of city staff are present via Zoom, and they must also state their name and title each time they speak, as well as any other members of the public. Members of the public, Richard will let you know when it is time for public comment, and you get 3 minutes. Please keep yourself muted when you are not speaking. That's the wrong mouse. It's not working on this computer. This meeting is being recorded and broadcast on the city's YouTube channel and public access channel 25. During the meeting, please mute yourself by clicking on the microphone icon found on the lower left-hand side of the Zoom menu next to the video icon. When you are muted, a red line will appear over the icon. Muting your microphone during the meeting will make it easier for everyone to hear. You'll just have to remember to unmute if you want to speak. Hold on. Sorry, my computer is not cooperating. In the menu, you can also turn your camera on or off by clicking the video icon. For the purposes of this meeting, please keep your video on during the meeting. If you are participating by phone, you can click *6 to unmute your phone. For those using Zoom, somewhere on your screen, you will see a choice to toggle between speaker and gallery view. Speaker view shows the active speaker. Gallery view tiles all the meeting participants. And I will turn it back over to Richard to start the agenda.
Okay, there's Richard Haig. And first, Chris, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can.
Great, welcome aboard. Okay, the first item on the agenda is approving the minutes from last meeting, October 22nd. And if everybody's gotten a copy of the minutes with the packet from Amanda, does anybody have any changes they'd like to make to the minutes or anything missing from the minutes?
I do.
Yes, Clancy?
We all got a promotion to commissioner in the minutes, and I think we should change that to board members throughout the minutes.
I can take care of that, thank you.
Okay? That's the only one I have. Otherwise, it's fine.
Anyone else? Okay, with the adjustment of the changing the board members from commissioner back to board members, does anybody have any other changes? Do we have a motion to approve the minutes with that amendment made?
Clancy Maloney, I so move.
Okay, moved by Clancy. Do I hear a second?
Nobody?
Nobody, second?
Seconded by Chris Coleman.
Okay. Seconded by Chris Coleman. This is Richard Chair. I say yay. Clancy?
Yay.
Don?
Yes.
Michael Kelly?
Yay.
Monty?
Yes.
And Chris, do we have yours recorded yet?
Yes.
Okay. So it's 6-0, the motion passes.
Dan,
Oh,
Dan's
Dan's on board. Welcome, Dan. Sorry, I didn't see you come in. So, Dan, your vote on approving the minutes?
Yes.
Yes, so it'd be 7-0. So moved. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Is there any public with us tonight that'd like to make a comment at this time? Okay, move on to the next item. Would be the update from Clancy on the air race and how, what's it?
agenda item 1.
Oh, am I on the row?
Yeah.
I'm on the minutes instead of the other. Here we go.
The 5-year.
Okay, the 5-year ACIP program and long-range needs, which the lists were in our information packet. Does anybody have questions on the timeframes or items that are on the list?
Richard, this is Amanda Seen. If you want, I can talk a little bit about it,
Okay,
if you guys would like. So this is our time of year that we have to submit this basically in February every year to the FAA. It's our list for the next 5 years. We submit kind of the next 20 years, although really after year 6 is just kind of a wish list. They program out 3 years. So at this time, the only thing they have programmed is the Rehab Taxiway A and Rehab the Apron. Those are currently programmed in 2023. I'm not 100% certain they're going to happen in 2023 because that could move around, but those are currently in their plan, and that's the year we need to show it in order to basically match up with the FAA's planning at this point. So those projects, we've redone the estimates. ADG helped with kind of revamping those estimates, make sure we had enough funds there. And with the apron, we kind of went out and looked at the condition and decided that we should include that kind of western portion of Taxiway B and Taxiway C. So those are included in that scope. For the taxiway, it's basically Taxiway A and the other portion of Taxiway B that goes to the apron. So hopefully we do get funding on those in '23. We also moved up kind of a project that was further out in the plan, but was also listed quite a bit higher cost. So we went out and looked at runway 119, because we know there's been some conversations about the markings and the condition out there. We got a quote for the markings, and I think it's more extensive than we would be able to do just with volunteers. There's also some issues with some of the concrete condition where the markings are in some areas. So we think it'd be best and the best use of funds, because I think our estimate was close to $90,000 just for markings, was to go out and get a project where we can go out, repair the concrete. Overall, it's in good shape, but at the corners, there's some spalling of the concrete. The joints really need to be resealed, and we think if we can do this project in the short term versus pushing it out, we can do a more minor rehab versus doing something major that will really prolong the life out there. So that's something that ADG estimated for us, went out and took a bunch of pictures of the condition, and so we think that that's a project that hopefully we can squeeze in that 5-year plan. If we do that, really pretty much all of our pavement, we'll be in pretty good shape. We did drop off the taxi lane by the T-Hangars, that project. I'll give an update a little later on in the agenda, but we received a KDOT grant for that, so that one has dropped off the list. So the focus is really on pavement maintenance. That's the FAA's main priority at this point, and really in discussions with them, it's what they have interest in funding. They don't have interest in funding really any new pavement, including runway extensions or anything like that in this 5-year cycle. They also aren't doing planning efforts in this 5-year cycle. They're really pushing back on that just because of COVID and kind of the impacts from that. So we pushed out the master plan update a couple years, and hopefully, we'll be able to get that done, right outside of that 5-year time frame. So that's kind of just a overview of kind of that next 5 years and some movement that we had on that list. But I will take questions if there is specific questions.
This is Mike Kelly. Amanda, you said the FAA did not want planning efforts. Did they just give that to you verbally, or do they have some correspondence from FAA headquarters that they're following, or is there anything in writing on that, I guess is what I'm asking.
This is Amanda Saheen. It was an email from Jason Knipp. He said they aren't approving any planning efforts unless there is major justification of changes of major, justification of major changes that have occurred since the last planning effort was done. And looking at it, there really hasn't been that many changes other than Hetrick's hangar that they built and the second one they're about to build. So really can't justify that. I mean, not to say that a year from now, maybe things are booming again and that can be pulled back forward. So that can always move around, but they really want us, the direction I got was focus on pavement maintenance. Once your pavement maintenance is up where it needs to be, then we can talk about a planning project.
This is Mike Kelly again. Amanda, thank you for that explanation. I'd ask that we put the text from that email in the minutes so that it's memorialized. Thank you.
And This is Amanda Saheen. We're doing minutes a little bit differently. They're not as detailed, but now that we have the video, there's links to this video that really serve as the minutes. So just so you'll notice our minutes are kind of becoming more condensed because of the video, and that's more in line with how other boards operate. Each item has a video link to that item in the comments. So that really serves as the minutes, just so you're aware. If you don't see that, Mike, I wanted you to know kind of why, that there's a shift with how our minutes look.
This is Mike Kelly, I understand.
Any other questions about the ACIP plan? Comments?
You can do public comment if not.
Any public comment on the ACIP?
Yeah, this is Ron Renz. I know we've talked for many years about extending taxiway, I guess it's Bravo, to the end of runway 19 from a safety standpoint. I know that falls in the no pavement stuff, but is that one that we still want to keep on there or on our master plan someplace? Because that is a safety issue. If you're departing off of runway 19, you've got a back taxi that, I guess, 500 or 600 feet.
This is Amanda Saheen. That's in our 6 to 11 year currently, so it is still on the list.
Very good. Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure that didn't get dropped for some reason. Super. Thank you, Amanda.
Amanda Lloyd Hetrick. Can you explain maybe to the board a little bit about from our conversation yesterday, the 600 feet extension to the north, even though I know it's not in their plans to do any improvements or expansions, at least in the near future, we really can't even put it on our CIP without some sort of a budget or something. What would you suggest that we could do in the next 30 or next year to have something out there so that if next year they change their mind, we've got a number to throw at it, or at least put it on the API or the future plans?
So this is Amanda Saheen. The issue with the 600-foot extension to the north is it's not on the airport layout plan that's approved. So in order to request anything, it has to be on the ALP and it has to be in accordance with the ALP. So in order to update that ALP to include that, costs the city planning money because we have to do studies, we have to get that, make sure it's going to work. We have to do the estimates as Lloyd mentioned, but it's more than just estimating it. There's a planning process that it needs to go through. And that's not something that the city feels is a good use of funds at this point because it is so far out before we would see any funds from the FAA. So our suggestion is in the next master plan update that gets considered, and if appropriate, gets added to the ALP at that point so that it could then be listed as a project potential. We do have a 400-foot extension to the south that's on, I think, the 11 to 20 year.
It is, the 11.
Right now, and that is shown on the ALP. So that's the runway extension that's in our plan, and we really can't add any, that one to the north until we go through a planning effort, which they aren't going to participate in. So, you know, with all our other needs at the airport, it just doesn't seem like a good use of funds to have the city fund that planning effort for something that's not feasibly going to get funded in the near future.
Lloyd Hetrick. Thanks, Amanda.
Okay, Richard Haig, is there any other public comment on the ACIP?
Hey, Amanda, this is Dan Bourne, and I was wondering, why are there the cost differences between the previous plan and the plan as presented? For example, the rehab taxiway A is about 1.7 or 1.8 in the new one, and it's 1.9 in the old one. And the rehab apron is quite a bit less in the new one. Have the projects changed at all, or have the costs just come down?
So this is Amanda Saheen. I don't know what was in the old estimates. I don't know if Rick can speak to that. I do know that Derek from ADG did a very thorough look and feels confident in the estimates he's prepared. So I don't know if before it was estimated. Rick might be able to speak here.
Hey, Dan, this is.
I think you turned it off.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Oh, you can hear me? Okay. The difference, I think a more thorough fine-tuning of the estimate was done this year. Your replacement of taxiway A is scheduled for the similar type of engineering and construction process that we went through on 1533, a full depth reclamation. So that's a more expensive process. I think we just had better intelligence and better market information. And then the taxiway B that intersects with A off the apron, that's scheduled also for a full depth reclamation. And we had had some preliminary discussions with FAA about the apron, and there was discussion back and forth about full depth reclamation versus a mill and overlay. And the opinion of FAA was take a look at the mill and overlay. So less material to take away means reduced construction costs. And I think that's reflective in the lower price tag that you're seeing on this estimate. Now, having said all that, once we get to maybe about a year away from actual planning and construction, we'll have to go through this exercise again and come up with a valid engineer's estimate that will be the basis for the bidding documents that contractors will submit their actual bids upon. So this what we do with this 5-year plan, it's always a rolling plan. Numbers change as market conditions change, and we try to give our best estimate 3 to 5 years out. But the process is, while we are in fiscal year 22 to 26, this is a fiscal year 23, which is October 1, 2022. So we're still, a year and a half, almost 2 full years away from even being serious with the numbers. So there could be a shift in market conditions. But for right now, we're going with those numbers, and we feel pretty comfortable that those will hold up no matter when. Hopefully that explains it.
Oh, yeah, I was just curious. Thanks.
Yeah, it's like the stock market. It goes up and down. Don't buy GameStop.
Okay. This is Richard Haig. Moving to the next agenda item and sticking with Amanda,
Well, we got to vote
on
the airport.
the
Vote to recommend approval to the city commission.
okay. So we'll need to vote on recommending the ACIP plans as written to the city commission, which if you guys have those, it goes all the way out to 11 to 20 years, which is where a lot of the runway extension or the taxiway extension and things are. So do I have a motion to approve as written the ACIP plan?
This is Mike Kelly. I make a motion to approve the ACIP plan as discussed.
Here a second?
I'll second it. Don Kenny.
Okay. We'll take a roll call vote. Don?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Clancy?
Yes.
Monty?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Okay, it passes 7-0.
What's your vote?
I'm a yes. Richard, yes. So, sorry I didn't record that. Okay. So now we will move forward to other staff items.
Hey, this is Amanda Saheen again, airport manager. I failed to, at the beginning, also just introduce there Scott Wagner with the city. I think a lot of you probably know who Scott is or have worked with Scott over the years in our city legal office. So he's going to be helping with the airport, he's going to start assisting a little more. I think he's been involved at the airport over the years, but I think more officially now, assisting with some of the airport management duties. So you guys will start seeing Scott involved or at these meetings or on any other correspondence. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, so the next thing is update on KDOT KAIP grant for the Taxilanes. So we submitted 3 applications, and we got 2 of the 3, and that was for all that area over by the T-Hangars. So we basically got a grant for 90% of the construction cost for the pavement that's adjacent to Building A, and then also the pavement that's north of B and C. We did not get the areas between B and C and kind of east and west of those. But we also have to, and we also have design that we have to fund. So we are looking at options for that area. We don't know, talking to Steve Lashley, who's kind of our pavement engineer with the city, we don't know that it necessarily needs as extensive as a rehab next to B and C. So we may look at doing some more minor rehab using city funds while we have a contractor out there doing this other area, just to get some economies of scale and really try to get all of that pavement so that it'll be good for a while. So not promising yet that we'll get to those areas by B and C, but we are really looking into that and trying to find a way to make that happen. So I don't have the numbers with me right now because we're just starting to have the conversations about what budget amendment we need to make within the airport fund. But we need to do a budget amendment for the design fee and for our 10% match for that grant. We also have to, add in if we're going to be doing some additional work out there. So we're just having those conversations now. I think there's going to be a budget amendment that goes forward, kind of citywide in like late March, early April. So we're hoping to get this in that group so we can get approval to start moving forward with design and get the money programmed for this work. The funds would be available, I believe, in July. So this would likely be kind of a late summer, fall type project. Any questions on that?
This is Richard Haig. The one question I had is I knew through the years A has had some flooding issues or some water issues, and is that going to be one of the things we look toward as they rehab the asphalt to maybe help drainage away from that building, from the hangar A's?
So this is Amanda Saheen. We're going to replace the drains that kind of go from the grass areas that are between each of those entryways under the pavement. We're going to replace those as part of it because those are probably clogged up is my guess. We're also going to do some drainage improvements along the east edge of the one that's between the community hangar and A, because there's a lot of ponding that happens in that area by Eurotex hangar when it rains. So we're looking at doing some drainage improvements and putting some pipe in the ground in that area to try to help that drain. So yes, we are going to try to get all of that addressed. Also going to, as much as possible, try to make the taxi lane that is on the west side of A compliant with the current widths. It's currently too skinny. And we're going to try to get it as close as possible with the grade going down to, what is that, taxiway C, I think? Yeah. With the location of A and the first kind of turn into that first hangar, we're a little limited with what we can do. I mean, you've got 2 points that you've got to get to and from. So I don't know if we'll be able to get exactly within the FAA recommended grades there, but we're going to get it as close as we can. So we'll try to make some other improvements out there while we're doing this.
Super. Okay.
Ready for the next one?
We are.
Tenant occupancy on the T-Hangars, they're full. I think we had one T-Hangar turnover since the last meeting, and we filled it immediately. And it was just somebody who had got a hangar, I think at Johnson County or something. They live closer that way. but we filled it immediately, so there was no gap. We have a waiting list of 14, 15 people, I think, at this point.
17.
Okay. 17 people. So got quite a waiting list out there, and we tend to get inquiries probably a couple a month on average. Development at the airport, we had a meeting with Lloyd and Doug Compton, I think just yesterday, about his second hangar out there. So we've got the public improvement plans. The first submission came in on that, and we're reviewing those currently. I'm going to get back with the engineer with some comments on those. Having discussions about city participation in the taxi lane, getting to that hangar, and ground lease terms and that kind of stuff now. So we just kicked those conversations off really fully yesterday. So we, don't know where we're at on that yet, but we're trying to find a way for the city to help fund that taxi lane or to reimburse Hetrick Air Services if they have to front the money for that taxi lane. The taxi lane is a little under $200,000 is the estimate right now, between 170 and 190. So we're working that out, and we're going to try to, if there's any recommendations with that, we'll try to do it with the next budget amendment, but I'm not real sure what direction it'll go yet until we have some more conversations with Hetrick and internally. Any questions on that one?
Amanda, this is Don Kenny. I just wondered if, when we've got that many people waiting for hangars, I know in the past, Rick and I have had some conversations about, is there any thought about building some more hangars? I mean, just even a few more. I mean, we're looking at revenue for the city, right? In order to do that. And it just seems silly when you've got people with money and airplanes who want to be there that we can't seem to fulfill that.
This is Amanda Zaheen. It is on our, I think it's in the 11 to 20. I don't know, is that where it's at? There's one in the, I think it's in the 11 to 20 year
Yeah.
right
But-
now. I don't know if it'll stay in the 11 to 20. It could move up. I think it's a matter of we've got to have the money up front to build it, and there's just a lot of need. And the city as a whole has really started pushing towards we need to maintain what we have, and until we can maintain what we have, we're trying not to do a lot of new. And so the airport, I think a lot of things out there have been neglected for a long time. Our maintenance budget, up until last year was so minimal. So we've been trying to up that maintenance budget so we can really start maintaining things out there the way we need to. We need to get into a consistent pavement maintenance routine out there that hasn't been happening. So I just think there's a lot of other things that we need to show that we've got plans of how to take care of them and how to fund that before we're going to be able to, especially without FAA participation, before we'd be able to fund a new building. And I understand that there's people on the waiting list, but really when you look at a couple $100 a month per unit, I mean, it takes a while to pay that back. So I do think it's something that's kind of on the list, but I just think we're trying to, like I said, take care of what we have first and really focus on that management of the assets that we currently have.
Don, to give you a little background, it's about, I think in '08, we did as a board an extensive study on the cost of building new T-hangars and the layout of T-hangars and dimensions in case we wanted to try and accommodate even some small light twins in some T-hangars. And we went to the commission at that time and brought it up, and it was more of a funding issue. And we did have, through the years, a couple different people come up and try to do or showed interest in a public-private investment in it. And so it is something that we've had a demand for quite a few years, and just trying to figure out how to implement that is the challenge. If we could get a little bit of backing from somebody, if the city could do, abatements and things like that, it would make it worthwhile for an individual to do it. But, airplanes, if there's a recession like happened in '08, it slowed things down, so the waiting list kind of disappeared for a little while. So timing wasn't there. The funding would have been incredible because at that point in time, construction costs were extremely low and the building would have been next to nothing. But putting the city under finances and putting bonds out there to try and build something you don't know is going to return an investment is pretty tough. So it is something that we did look into quite a few years ago, and if things look financially feasible enough that we could do that study again, we worked with city staff at that time to really run the numbers and work things out that, you know, as a board, we might look into it. I think with COVID and things like that this year, it's probably not good timing to look into it yet, but maybe in a year or so, when things settle down, it would be a good time to do that.
Okay, thanks, Richard.
You're welcome. All right.
Okay, Amanda Saheen, next item, renaming Lawrence Municipal Airport to Lawrence Regional Airport. So that was passed by City Commission after this board recommended that to pursue that name change. The next step is to apply with the FAA. I've reached out to them, and they basically told me it's frowned upon, but if we want to do it, okay, but expect a long process. So in order to start that process, I have to get a letter signed by somebody who's, I guess, has authority to request that change, so I'm assuming that's the city manager. So that's something I'm drafting right now for the city manager to sign, so we can submit to the FAA for the name change. Once we knew it was going to move forward with the FAA, that's when we'll start looking at all the code. I mean, Rick over here has already done a kind of a review of what sections of code we need to change, but there's several ordinances that would need to be written to change those sections of code. So that would be kind of the step after the FAA approval process. So that's where we're at on that. It's in the works, but may take some time.
And this is Richard Haig. Did the FAA say why they frowned on it? Is just because a lot of changes in their paperwork and charts and things?
This is Amanda Saheen. Yeah, they said time and money on their part to change all of their references.
Okay.
So,
Thank
but they didn't say they won't do it.
They're just not looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
This is Clancy.
Oh, go ahead.
Did they give you any idea how long?
This is Amanda Saheen. They told me large airports can wait up to a year, and that was pre-COVID.
Okay, thanks.
Now, I don't know if we would be faster or slower than large airports. That wasn't clear. Like, do smaller airports, is it faster because there's less work, or is it worse because we're small? I don't know. But it sounds like it might be some time.
Okay, thanks, Amanda. Clancy.
Okay, this is Amanda Saheen, Airport Manager. Update on CARES grants. So I know this board's aware of the $69,000 grant that we received. We chose to kind of had some internal discussions with the city, and I've already let this board know, and I know a lot of the tenants out there know, that we're going to use that to automate that west gate and that terminal gate. It is, I know Ron's happy there. It's something that Gary, one of the other engineers in our group, has been working on. He's worked with Evergy to figure out power and all that, and has some drawings and some bid package, probably 90% done. We do have to submit to the FAA for airspace review, because we're putting in, you know, like 3-foot tall bollards with a push button on them. So they have to review that, and also the construction boundaries and all that. So that's going to take, you know, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks or so. So we haven't done that submission yet, but we'll do that soon. So I anticipate that being probably spring, summer type project after we bid it and things like that. So just wanted to give you an update that that's moving forward. There's also supposed to be some other CARES grant funding coming down. We haven't heard yet how much. I expect, in conversations, I expect it will be less than the last round for us. But then there's probably also going to be a lot of rules on what it can be used for. So this last round, you could use it for development, but there was more of a process, so we decided to not use it for development. It sounds like this round, they may not allow it to be used for development, which would include, they consider development a mill and overlay of pavement. So we were hoping maybe we could use it for that area between B and C, you know, that other pavement work. Until I see the verbiage of what's allowed, we don't know if that's going to work or not. It'd be great if it will. So that's something we're considering as a way to fund that area. If not, I know we have plenty of other needs at the airport that would be considered more operations and maintenance that we could find a use for it. And I think this last round, we had 4 years to use the money. So we have some time to talk about it and decide what, but I know Jason Stowe, does all the facilities out there, has a list of items that he would like to get done in the buildings out there, so I'm sure we'll find a use for that. Any questions on that?
This is Ron Renz. That's great on the gates, Amanda. And if there's anything that we can do to help your people on that, just reach out and we'll do whatever we can.
This is Amanda Saheen. Thanks, Ron. I know you're excited for it.
This is Richard. Amanda, I just have one concern as they go all automated gates is one benefit to having manual gates is if there's a power outage, we can still get into the airport and have access. So is there a bypass mechanism that if somebody pulls to the gate from the outside, that they'll still be able to open it if there's a power outage?
I'm sure this is Amanda Saheen. I'm sure that's built in, but I will check with Gary and ensure that he is,
I haven't seen, Gary spec'd out several manufacturers. I don't know which.
Okay, because I think that.
we'll check though and make sure. Gary's definitely, this is more his wheelhouse than mine, the electrical stuff and all of that. So I will check with him. It's a good point, and I'll make sure.
I think the automated gate we have
The
now,
one to the T-Hangars has an auto.
Is there a bypass?
on it when you take the cover off, yes.
when you take the cover off.
You have to take the cover off.
Okay, but not one that if somebody needed it,
Not like an emergency fuel.
emergency
stop switch
vehicle
where you
could
just
go
push a
open it.
button, no.
Okay, that was kind of
Don't have that.
what I was concerned about.
But, and that operation is done inside the fence.
Correct.
So
So,
I'm assuming the way Gary has talked about structuring the power application, the doorbells and all that, that kind of emergency bypass would be inside the fence as well.
so like at the terminal building, it's accessible because there is a gate there that somebody could get to the inside to open it. But
On the west side, there is a walk-through pedestrian.
Is there a walk-through gate?
On the west side of Don's Diesel,
just not by the,
not that close.
but not the automated gate we have now. There's,
But we'll just have to talk to Gary about it. and
okay. Yeah, that's.
It's all workable.
Okay, super. Thank
Yeah,
you.
this is Ron Renz. Yeah, on the west side, there's two band gates. One that Rick just pointed out by Don's Diesel, and then there's another one over by the KU hangar as well.
Super.
Yeah, and I know any of the gate things that we looked at about a year or two ago, there was always a manual ability to operate them. So I think, Amanda, if you make sure Gary just does that, he looks into that, I think that'd be a really good consideration.
This is Amanda. I'll do that.
Thank you.
All right, next item. This is Amanda Saheen, Airport Manager. 2021 Terminal ADA Upgrade Project. That's something that the city has approved issuing debt to get that project done. So it's $120,000. We're going to be hiring an architect to lead that effort. We don't know how far that money is going to go at this time until we really get an architect on board. The big unknown is those restrooms to make them ADA compliant. Do we need to start moving walls, or can we make something work within the existing walls? That's going to have a huge impact on how far this money goes. So first goal with the money is all the ADA upgrades. Really, the bathrooms are the big ticket item there. We may have a few other small things, door openers and door swing issues and things like that. They're pretty minimal. A little bit of parking lot considerations, but really those bathrooms are kind of the wild card. So we need to get that architect on board so that we can figure out what we need to do with those. The goal is, if there's enough funds available, to do some painting and flooring and stuff in that terminal to modernize it a little bit also. So I know there's been some interest with Hetrick Air Services previously about maybe doing something where they partner with the city to get that done. So we're gonna make sure that we keep Hetrick involved out there as far as kind of where we're at on the project, and if we need to get into those conversations again about, where can we partner to make this happen so we can get some economies of scale and get everything done at once, we'll try to do that. But I guess more to come on that as we get into design. We're gonna be probably issuing a request for qualifications from architects this month. So I think by the next board meeting, hopefully I don't know if I'll have any answers on, we may not be far into design, but we'll probably have someone hired at that point. So that will likely be a project that happens kind of later in the year as far as bidding and starting construction, so. Any questions?
Man, this is Monty Soka. I might suggest that you guys consider doing a family restroom, because often you can have a family restroom that's ADA accessible and that will meet your requirement. Not all cases, so you obviously have to check with the architect, but that would be a dual purpose thing that may meet that requirement and be cheaper than trying to modify 2 restrooms.
This is Amanda Seen. Yeah, thanks, Monty. We did discuss like a unisex ADA stall. Because the other thing is we got to see what the current code requires for, we don't even know if what's out there now meets code for how many, urinals and toilets are required for the space. Codes changed since that building was built. So if now, as soon as we touch the restrooms, we've got to bring everything up to code relating to them. So even if we do that, it could be, well, now we've got to add a toilet in the women's and this, and so we got to kind of look and see, but that is a good recommendation, Monty. I appreciate that, because that is sometimes an easier way to get ADA, is to have that unisex kind of family restroom. So I appreciate that comment.
Yeah, well, that also adds to your unit count, so another thing to think about.
Yeah, appreciate that.
All right. Any other questions for Amanda? This is Richard Hague. Okay, we'll move on to the FBO report. Lloyd?
Yeah, Lloyd Hetrick with Hetrick Air Service. I think we're awful slow still, obviously, with COVID going on, and at least we got runways up and going, everything smooth there. I might mention our hangar 1 is full. We'd like to be able to accommodate some overnight traffic when it comes, and we do have locals that are come and go or on trips or whatever, so it opens up some space as needed for transient. So yeah, I think we're ready to move, or don't think, we're ready to move with number 2 if we get something worked out and we got some, at least a conversation going down with the city. And I think other than that, I don't really have anything for the airport, I think.
Does anybody have any questions for Lloyd? This is Richard. Okay. We'll move forward to the update on the Air Race Classic. And Clancy, would you like to bring us up to speed on that?
This is Clancy Maloney, board member, and yes, I will. They canceled it, in case anybody was unaware of it, because of COVID for this year. However, they have also checked with all of the terminals and airports that were supposed to be involved this year, and everyone, including us, has said that we would be willing to participate in 2022. What they have done in place of an air race this year is they are going to sponsor what is called an air derby. And I'm not real sure I understand what that is. The rules will be published mid-month this month, and apparently it will be somehow the racers will register and select their own routes according to some rules that they have, and then be electronically monitored. I'm not sure how this is going to work, but basically we're out of the picture for this year unless we have local participants. So that's basically what I know about it. Nobody on my small committee is off the hook because now we're going to do 2022 apparently. So that's what I know. I did get a suggestion from Derek Rogers about some potential event this spring, but I don't know, Amanda, if he's spoken to you about it or not, but I don't see how we can do anything really with COVID at this point, given the local restrictions. So I don't know what to say about that. I'm enthusiastic. It's part of the 75th anniversary of the Parks and Rec or something like that. So I don't know how we need to proceed on that, if at all.
Yeah, this is Amanda Saheen. I think we just need to kind of keep an eye on the COVID stuff, and maybe it's something that can be done later in the summer or in the fall. I know Derek would like maybe Parks and Rec to partner and do something where you just have a few aircraft out there and just kind of a small event to draw some attention out to the airport. So I think it's a great idea, and I think it's probably something we hopefully could pull together on within a couple months. So I think it's just a matter of keeping an eye on this vaccine and distribution and how things start shifting, if they do, hopefully, as we start getting into summer.
Yeah, this is Clancy. I agree with that. I just think we need to keep an eye on it, but I do think we need a couple of months lead time just to get it put together. Apparently, Parks and Rec is going to have almost a year of 75th anniversary events, so we could certainly fit in something like that at a later date. But as far as the Air Race Classic is concerned, I'm just going to keep in touch with them, and if anybody is interested in looking at what their rules are, I don't really think it's going to impact us at all for 2021.
Thank you, Clancy. One thing that the board has done in the past that we did, oh, I'm sorry, what's it? This is Richard. One thing that we've done in the past is a youth aviation camp, which the year before last, it was canceled about 3 times because of storms moving through and clogging things up. And then by the time it got late enough in the fall, KU football games and ball traffic kind of interfered with us being able to take over the terminal building for the camp. And then this past summer, of course, the COVID kind of took it away, but we still have all the materials that we could get that coordinated and set up again. And I know Derek was very excited to be a part of a youth aviation camp, which was coordinated with Parks and Rec. So it's something that we might keep in the back of our minds, that if things open up, that we could put that together and get it on the agenda with Parks and Rec and get the kids back out there. It's through the years, it's been pretty influential in a lot of the kids, motivated them to do different things in aviation. And we still have one young lady that was a recipient of a scholarship we gave for an intro flight. And she is actually continuing a career at KU in aeronautical engineering. So the kids, it does have an impact on quite a few of the kids being part of the camp. So I think it's a value to the community if we can revitalize it once we get through these trying times.
Clancy Maloney, I think that's a great idea, and I'll talk with Derek and see, at some time, I'd really like to have a look at the materials, Richard, so I can see what it's like.
I have an abundance of leftover manuals and things like that, so I can make them available to you.
Okay, great. Let's connect on that so I can see what it is we're working with, and I'll talk with Derek also to see what he thinks.
And one tribute is the 99s were incredibly helpful and provided many volunteers to keep that camp going, so they were pretty good. Not to mention cooked a few treats for everybody.
Clancy Maloney here. Yes, the 99s are pretty good cooks too, in addition to flying around.
Exactly. Okay. This is Richard. With that said, that's our regular agenda items. Does anybody have anything they would like to discuss before we look toward our next meeting? Okay. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is May 3rd. If anything really changes drastically that we need to get together before then, or any policies or things that we need to work on with the city, we can set one up ahead of time, but in the meantime, we'll just plan on May 3rd. And
This is Ron Renz. Did you mean May 3rd or May 5th? The original plan was May 5th. Did it change to the Monday?
is Monday, May 3rd?
I might have just messed that up.
We may have a typo on our agenda.
I've got on, this is Ron Renz, I've got on my calendar that we had planned May 5th.
This is Amanda, it's May 5th.
Okay.
Sorry. Good catch, Ron.
We'll make that real quick.
Nobody else is looking ahead 3 months, apparently.
So the next meeting is May 5th.
Yes.
Not May 3rd. So we'll correct the agenda.
So Cinco de Mayo.
There you go. Okay. And with that said, take a motion to adjourn.
Monty Sokup, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Clancy Maloney, I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Don?
Yep. That sounds good.
Michael? Mike, are you with us?
Mike, aye.
Clancy?
Aye.
Monty?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
and Richard, aye. It's 7-0, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.